Hey, happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com. Today is Thursday, March 7th, 2019. This is episode 260 of The Daily Dope. So, welcome aboard. Hopefully, this is not your first time watching. So, if it is, welcome. This is a very, very casual show. I just kind of kick back, talk about tabletop gaming. Sometimes I have the news, sometimes I don't. I'm kind of in the middle of an experiment right now. I'm not doing tabletop news of the day on this week's shows and probably into next week, just as kind of a test on YouTube. I want to experiment with a couple of things. But anyway, welcome aboard. Tonight, I am going to be taking a look at, I'm going to page through Castle Falkenstein. This is the core book of the, what I guess I would consider a Fantasypunk game. This is the venerable role-playing game from Talsorian Games. And we're also going to take a peek at Comme Il Faut, which is a supplement, all things right and proper for good old Castle Falkenstein. So, I'm going to jump into that in just a couple moments. Ghost World's popping in, and howdy, Ghost World. So that brings me to the fact that there is chat, because this is a live stream. Chat is available on YouTube. I do pay attention to it, so I do respond. I do point out it's not on screen. Although if you're watching after the render, the actual chat is on the side of the screen, so you can follow it anyway, as long as we don't have a problem where I have to actually re-upload the video that I'm recording right now. So yes, there is chat available if you have a question, if you want to say hello. Maybe there's something about Castle Falkenstein you want to chat about. By all means, please chime in and I will respond. Reason why I don't put the chat on the screen is because it kind of keeps some of the stranger commenters at bay. So good to see Ghost World popping in. And have I toyed with the idea of doing the news maybe only once per week? So those who are challenged to fast forward it, they at least know what episode it's on. Okay, so I gotta be honest. Gotta be honest, Ghost World, the news is probably going to return next week. So, okay, the news is going to return on each show. It's probably going to be next week. So I'm just playing around with different stuff on YouTube. I'm playing around with impressions and click-through rates. And amazingly enough, I'm kind of surprised. The click-through rate is actually pretty decent. It's above average. So that I'm kind of shocked. Impressions aren't super great. Hey, John Vogel's popping in. Howdy, John. So, yeah, so I'm kind of like, yeah. You know what I find kind of unusual is I've got, what do I have? Like almost 3,500 followers on Twitter, which I'm not the world's greatest social media guy. I'm usually, I tend to be like, I'd rather be doing stuff for the website or getting stuff changed around for the show and that, as opposed to just, figuring out how I can get more followers, more subscribers. But interestingly enough, I've got 3,500 Twitter followers, but I still haven't cracked 1,300 subscribers on YouTube. I said Twitter followers, right? I didn't say Twitter subscribers. I don't know. Okay, who knows? All right, so good to have both Ghost World and John Vogel in chat today. So, as I mentioned, today I'm going to be taking a look at Castle Falkenstein from Talsorian Games. So, let's pop on over there. Let's double check, make sure that there's nothing else. Yeah, okay. I thought I've got these set up right. Because I feel like a goofball when I start talking about, oh yeah, blah, 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 this game we're going to be taking a look at. or I'm going to review, and then suddenly all these other slides for something else come popping up. Anyway, so thankfully we're not dealing with that. Anyway, as I mentioned, Castle Falkenstein is from our Talsorian Games. It's designed by Michael A. Pondsmith, with artwork provided by William Aiken, taking a guess here, Eric Holtz, Gloria U. Jenkins, Mike Pondsmith, which I assume is also Michael A. Pondsmith, I would think, and Mark Schumann. The 224-page core book is available for $40 in softcover, or you can get the PDF right now during the GM's Day sale at Drive-Thru RPG for $12. It's normally $20. Robert Moffat's jumping in. Wait, I thought it was Wargame Thursday. No, Robert, it's not Wargame Thursday. That was yesterday. It was Wargame Wednesday, and look what's still sitting here. Yes, I was doing a review of Space Corp. So that was fun. The shows have been fun. We've had good chats going past all week long, I want to say. We've had a few people in chat, so it's very, very cool. So anyway, do want to point out that right now the GM's Day sale is going on over at Drive-Thru RPG. They've got some awesome savings going on. I think you only have about 2 days left because GM's Day was actually Monday, which strangely enough marks the death of Gary Gygax, as opposed to maybe his birthday would have been better. I don't know, a little more celebratory. But if you are going to go over to any of the One Bookshelf websites, please stop by thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banners. That way, if you do make a purchase, a little piece of that, a little bitty piece, will come my way. All right, so let's move on over to the other camera. So, whoops, here we go. There we go. Sometimes I think it's kind of cool how, and I don't like intentionally do this, but sometimes the way I set the camera up, I kind of fade from the picture to the box or the game, and it's like, zing. Looks kind of neat. Okay, so high adventure in the Steam age. I'll be the first to point out, I know very little. I know next to nothing, I guess I'll say, about Castle Falkenstein, outside the fact that I know it came out in the 90s, and I believe this is what I'm terming as Fantasypunk, is how I've always heard this game is supposed to be, the setting of the game. And one thing that, if you follow my role-playing game Thursday shows, one thing you should be aware of is I'm a big setting fan. Fluff, I guess we'll say. I like fluff. I don't like just too much meandering along, but I love settings. So for some strange reason, and I don't know if maybe I'm misremembering something, I have an impression. For some strange reason, I thought Castle Falkenstein involves a deck of cards somehow. I'm not positive how, but for some strange reason, that's stuck in my head. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Hey, Kabuki Kid's popping in. Hey, Kabuki Kid, or KK as I like to say. Good to see Kabuki Kid here. So let's take a look at the back here. And you know, the other thing that this kind of reminds me of, and I have not cracked this open. I have not cracked this open. When I say I'm taking a first look, I'm serious. And because if I say something and I'm completely wrong about it, that's fine. That's cool with me. But I understand, I believe that this is almost kind of like a novel and game. So I'm not sure. So let's take a look at the back here. When computer game designer Tom Olam found himself sorcerously shanghaied by a rogue wizard and a fairy lord, little did he suspect that he would soon become the pivotal force in the struggle to control an alternate Victorian universe. But before the deadly game could end, he would first have to battle gigantic land fortresses, outwit dragons, romance a beautiful adventuress, and defeat the evil legions of a dark court determined to destroy him at all costs. Then maybe, just maybe, he could find a way home again. Here we go. It's a novel, it's a game, it's both. It's candy, it's a gum, it's a mint. It's two mints in one, or whatever it was. So it's Castle Falkenstein, an amazing journey into another universe just a few steps away from our own, a place where dragons and steam power rule the skies. Fairy lords duel atop the battlements, and where the forces of wizardry and magic, with a K, meet the gaslight streets of the Victorian age. But with Castle Falkenstein, the story never ends, as you too take up saber and spell to adventure in a distant world on the other side of the mysterious fairy veil, a world of swashbuckling fantasy, high romance, and magical, with a K, a C, and a K, technology, the world of Castle Falkenstein. Now, I don't know if it should be pronounced Castle Falkenstein or Castle Falkenstein. So I'm up in the air there. So normally, I always thought if it's E-I-N, like S-T-E-I-N, it's Steen. If it was I-E-N, it would be Stein. Don't know. It just reminds me of Young Frankenstein, right? It's Frankenstein. Okay, so I was starting to say what this kind of also reminds me of, not only a little bit with the alternate Victorian setting, like Space 1889, which is now produced by, I think it's Modiphius that prints it up. I'm trying to remember who took it over. It used to be GDW. But this book, actually, just the book itself kind of reminds me of the old GDW stuff from way back in the day. So let's crack this open. Let's take a look. Let's see what we've got. Oh, it's actually, we got color insert here. I was expecting all this to be black and white. Okay, so decent. I would say this is pretty decent paperweight here. Not fantastic. Not terrible either. So this came out 1994. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it was the 90s. I thought it was the 90s. Okay, so let's take a quick peek through. Hey, okay, so first off, let's scoot this over a little bit. We'll be a little off center, but at least my mug isn't blocking this off. First off, I can tell you, this has kind of an older vibe to it. The graphic layout, a little bit of an older vibe to it, which is fine, which is good. So we've got our little boxes here. So not your typical role-playing game. A word of warning. Castle Falkenstein is organized a bit differently from other role-playing games. Instead of starting off with the rules, we've organized this book so you begin with the world itself. Oh, okay. So, well, it's not unusual. It was a little unusual back in the day. Seeing that you figure this game is actually almost 25 years old. So, it's not this book itself. This book is brand new. The book isn't 25 years old. But we do start to see that a little bit more. And I actually kind of like that. I like the fact where you kind of get your juices flowing before you jump into the rules. Sometimes when I see what is this? Is this? I guess it's ink. Sometimes when I see a game that just starts off with just here's the rules, then it's kind of like yeah, okay, you're trudging through the rules, and then you finally start getting into like the background and things like that. Especially if it's a really crunchy game. Sometimes it's kind of, I can't sit back and just read through a lot of that at one time. Whereas if a book starts off with some of the fluff, some of the background, some of the setting information, that kind of gets me going. Like, hey, Falcon makes me think of Professor Falcon from War Games. Oh my gosh, Kabuki kids go way back. So let's see. I was gonna share a story, and I thought, no, I better not. I better not share that story. Okay, I'll share the story. So I have to laugh. War Games. I was never a fan of War Games. Now I like Matthew Broderick. Don't get me wrong, but I was not a fan of War Games. Being somebody who played computer games, even though computers at that point were, nothing to write home about. I just thought it was really stupid. So. This is back in the day when it's all basically VHS, right? I think Beta's still around at that point. But I mean, I'm like freshman in high school, something like that, maybe a sophomore. And we had a membership to this video store, obviously. And my brother went and rented like 3 movies and never returned them. So my parents ended up having to pay for them. And it was War Games, Faces of Death, and I can't remember the other one. I think it was like some really crappy Western. But it was, I thought, and back then, video stores and stuff, they didn't sell you copies of, the movies in that. It was, you had to go rent them. So if you ruined a tape or if you kept a tape, it was like $80, $100, $150. All right, so enough of my off-topic pontificating. So we got Spellnapped. So we're getting a bit of a first-person story here about Tom being whisked away to another land. So we got another world. Morlon and Oberon up to no good as usual. Pretty cool art. I like that. It's kind of cool image there. So this game should appeal to those out there who like the Victorian era, who kind of dig fantasy and sorcery and monsters and dragons and orcs. So talking about Castle Falkenstein, amazing, timeless, endless, raised by the sorcery of a fairy lord, created from the imagination of a mad king. It towers over the silent, dark forests and sapphire lakes below, spearing into the brilliant dawn from the top of its mountaintop fastness. It is a place of immense mystery, of great power, brought into being on the foundations of a medieval robber baron's fortress, clad in smooth, warm stone and the stuff of dreams, a place where knights joust and lords and ladies play. So here's Tom's map of the known portions of the castle. It's funny, I was expecting this to be a black and white book, really. When I said I didn't crack this open, I'm completely honest. I did not touch this. Yes, a friend bought Willow on VHS for about $100 because he loved the movie so much. Yep, that's right. Kabuki Kid is right on the money. I was a huge fan of Henry V with Kenneth Branagh. I thought that was a great movie, and I was like, wow, I would love to add this to my collection. And they wanted like $150 for it, and I was like, no. So, obviously enough, it is now part of my collection, but not as a $150 VHS tape. So we got Bayern. So I wonder if Bayern is kind of like the Germany of the world of Castle Falkenstein. Well, no. Okay, so we got the German princedom, Austria, Prussia, and this is Bayern. So I guess Bayern is... So we got Nuremberg, Augsburg, there's Falkenstein, so that's, I guess, where the castle is. Okay, so in reality, the kingdom is Germanic. I was thinking it was going to be more along the lines of Britannia, to be honest. Okay, so Marianne must be the adventuress that Tom is after. So we've got Ladies Adventurous Dumbendane? I don't know. The weaker sex? Right, sure. So this is what they call a neo-Victorian world. Okay, we got the Colonel here. I guess he's probably an inventor. Maybe he's kind of like the mad scientist type. Okay, dwarf mad scientist. Speaking of mad scientists, there we go. Talking about dwarfs. The Mad King Ludwig. The Iron Chancellor. There we go. There's... Oh. So we actually have historical individuals in this, because that would be Otto von Bismarck right there. And his nickname... Well, one of his nicknames was the Iron Chancellor. the Unsili court and adversary. So Unsili is usually fae, like fairies in that, I think. Let's see what it says here. It's a little difficult to read. This was not a good design choice here. The rest are all fine, but this yellow on this image is not a great idea. I can't even make that out. If Bismarck sounds bad, what's blah 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 up even uglier, literally. Yeah, not a good design choice there. All right, here we go. At least we're back into the easy reading. Oh, so okay, Bayern is considered Bavaria. Okay, so we got the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, the land of New Europa. We got a map here. So it's talking about the different nations. History with the Falkensteinian twist. The world is a weird place. A history of the alternate world. Okay, so now we get a walk in New Europa. Yeah, bad choice. Yeah, Ghost right. Yeah, yellow font. Yeah, bad choice. I think, I'm not positive. I think this is actually a print on demand from Drive-Through RPG. Even though I got it from our Talsorian Games, I did see on Drive-Through RPG they sell the book, and that usually indicates that they're the ones who are printing up. World where fact and fiction meet. Well, there's Victoria. Have no clue who that's supposed to be. So, okay, so it looks like we've got, yeah, I kind of thought we would see this, but so we've got a mixture of historical and fictional. So we've got Phineas Fogg, Dr. Victor Frankenstein, Ulysses S. Grant, Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah, okay. The Invisible Man, Abraham Lincoln. Oh, wow. So, Lincoln was not assassinated. There you go. All right, there we go. So I'm taking a stab that I don't think the United States is going to play a huge role in this. Maybe it's in another source book or something like that, because it seems to be focused on this neo-Victorian age. Masterminds and megalomaniacs. Steampunk and science, okay. Weird invention. My favorite anarchitect. Okie doke. Deadly dangers. Steam age weapons. Villains, riffraff, and scoundrels. I don't see any kind of clockwork stuff yet. The art here doesn't match. It's like half complete artwork. It's just the style. It looks like it's got a style where it's trying to look more like almost like a, I guess we would almost say almost like a watercolor to it. I don't know. It seems okay. Seems all right. A lot of time, myself personally, I mean, yes, I like good artwork in a book, but I don't like pass or fail an RPG based on the artwork. I will say when it's like, wow, there's like just way too much artwork and way too much fluff, and you're not getting a lot of gaming material. So, so Ghost is saying, oh, he's talking about the portraits. Yeah, it's kind of got like an old school vibe to the art. You know? Not bad. It's all right. I kind of dig that. I'd rather have art like that than something really bad. Somebody mentioned, yeah, there's an expansion to New World. Okay, so yeah, so that's probably North America. So the High Fairy Vale. It's kind of interesting how it goes from color to black and white. Or grayscale, I guess I should say. Not black and white, it's grayscale. Dressing the parts. Queen's English or whatever. The Ladies of Falkenstein. Age of Glamour and Sophistication. Society. Okay. Of Flashing Blades and Midnight Duels. So there are firearms. Obviously, there are gunpowder weapons. Looks like we've got magic, but it seems to me that it's important to have a good sword by your side. Steam Age Sorcery. There we go. Sorcerer's Orders. Oh, there the Golden Dawn. It's like Golden Dawn's in like everything. It's Call of Cthulhu. So these are the various different orders. There we go. They've got some dragons. Ancient, powerful, and very, very clever. These are the dragons of the world of Castle Falkenstein. Talking about dragons, but all is not well in New Europa. The great game. Yes, the great game of diplomacy. That's what the great game is considered. World, global diplomacy. Against a revolution of steam and steel. I'm taking a guess that this is supposed to be the character of Tom. This is actually kind of cut off here. In fact, this is all cut off. The text was supposed to go up to here. You can see the line coming down. The text is cut off. Okay, Steampunk Conquest, Steam Lords of Britain. Council Award, gain a dragon ally. Swords of the Compact, members of the Second Compact. Prince Albert's. So it says, politically, Bayern, France, and Austria find themselves aligned with the Second Compact. So, looks like they're allied with Great Britain. New alliance. Fairy Attack, Creatures of Fairy. Lost Notebook of Leonardo da Vinci. There's a lot of stuff in here, I have to admit. I'm curious to get into the actual meat and potatoes of the game system itself. Diplomacy, I'll take Russia. Yes, in the game of diplomacy, Russia is an excellent choice. You can get to the point where you can make it where there is absolutely no way for you to be taken out of the game. Yeah, I played Russia quite a bit. Kind of surprised, speaking of diplomacy, the actual game, the classic Avalon Hill game, I always laugh how everybody talks about, oh, wow, we had all these arguments and stuff like that playing diplomacy. And it's like, we never did. I mean, sure, there was like, hey, you stabbed me in the back, you bastard, kind of thing. But not where it got into like fist fights and stuff. Nothing like that. Secret weapons of the Steam Age. So we got Zeppelins, we got land fortresses, navies of the Steam Age. The Last Battlefield, Ride of the Valkyries. All right, Aftermath of War, Endgame. Oh, so all this stuff was 4 years ago. So, okay. Now we get into the great game. So now we start getting into the actual mechanics of the game. The Prince and I write the great game. So it looks as if the rules are presented kind of not like just case points and stuff like that. It's almost like the characters are sharing the rules of the game, kind of giving me an idea of what this looks like here. Props, building blocks of your story. So I guess this is probably, yep, there we go. I was gonna say this is another role-playing game that's kind of scene-driven. I had a friend storm out of the house during a game. Not everyone should play diplomacy. Diplomacy ironically kills friendships. I don't... Well, I do believe somebody's storming out. But yes, diplomacy's not a game for everybody. Just like tequila is not an alcohol for everybody either. Having spent years tending bar, tequila has a very, very weird effect on certain people. Heroes and villains. Heroines. As in female heroes, not heroine. So, villains, supporting characters. How do I create a dramatic character? What is a dramatic character? All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So, this is character creation here. So, it looks as if you're going to take an archetype. So, for an example, we've got like Dashing Hussar, Diplomat, Dwarf Craftsman, Dragon Lord, Consulting Detective, Gentleman Thief. It says what your strong suits are, what your possessions are in your diary, why you're here. So I am not seeing anything with specific like attributes. So far so good. What's next? What do I use my diary for? Okay, so I guess the characters have to have a diary, example diary page. So yeah, Robert Moffat's like, we have a blast. We had a blast playing Diplomacy. Yeah, Diplomacy games. Diplomacy is an all-time classic. It's it can be a little tricky though. It's the rules are not the most clearly presented. I have to say that. Okay, so we've got abilities. Aha! See, I thought I had it. Some reason I thought there were cards involved with this. And now we're seeing different suits. So we got a club, we got hearts, we got spades. There's the diamond. Okay, so it looks like hearts are sort of... okay, so we got like courage, charisma. Stars seem to be like more intelligence-based. Like education, perception. Club seems to be more action, more combat, right? So fencing, fisticuffs, marksmanship. And then spades, social graces. Okay. Well, I will have to actually dig a little further into this to find out what how that works. So we've got host characters. Oh, so here we've got NPCs, and that breaks down what their skills would be, what their, I guess, abilities would be. Don't just sit there, and don't forget the crib sheets. Dragon characters, that'd be interesting. Dwarf characters, fairy characters. Okay, a host's guide to the fairy. So the host must be the game master. I'm assuming. Writing Falkenstein Adventures. This does seem interesting. It seems different. So as I mentioned, I had always heard over the years that this was an interesting system. Now, granted, it's not going to be for those out there who like the good old, old school Renaissance stuff like that, because it's scene driven, is what it appears to be. Probably a lot more story game to it. I know some people despise story games, which I find kind of funny. It's sort of like, give me a break. It's just, they're story games, okay? Relax. Okay, so, Dragon Health, Engines of War. So we have vehicles and infernal war machines. I will admit, this seems to be pretty packed with info. There's a good amount of information on each of the pages of this book. As opposed to sometimes you get a core book where it's like, oh, big splashes. And like I said, I like cool artwork, but not at the expense of actual gameable material. So Wizards of the Coast was notorious for that over the years, that they would get to the point where it was, bunch of fluff, bunch of artwork, and about 25% of the actual page content was material you could use in your games. So, somebody forgot to put page 200 on here. Okay. So, looks like, is this like explaining some of the skills? Was that it? Oh, no. different alchemy and things like that. Divination, a sample artifact. Because this is a softcover book, it's and I don't, I try to take care of my books. It's getting a little hard to, I'm getting towards the end, so like usually a hardcover book is just like bunk. It'll like hold down. It'll stay down. Building agents, steam engine vehicles, creating infernal weapons, astounding engines, and formulations. Engine magic. Okay. This looks interesting. I'm looking forward to digging into this and reviewing it. All right, and then we've got the index. So that is what we find when we take a look at the classic Castle Falkenstein role-playing game from our Talsorian Games. So as I mentioned before, this book is $40. It is available on sale right now at Drive-Thru RPG for the next, I think it's 2-3 days. It's $12. It's normally $20. Usually you see most of the time your PDFs are about half the price of the actual physical books. So stick around because I am going to take a look at the supplement in just a couple of minutes here. But did want to point out, yes, I know Ghost World knows what's coming. That's right. It's time for Lil Whizbub. That's right, Lil Whizbub. Hopefully Ghost World has been coming up with his bubbination, I guess we'll say, for the day. So, do want to point out, because the Daily Dope, as well as my website itself, the Gaming Gang, are basically not for profit, I do ask, consider making a donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Little big. Wow, I need to take a sip here. Yes, Ghost is like, woo, it's bub time. Look at that cat. Come on, that cat is adorable. And if you ever go to the website, lilbub.com, you will see all the things that were wrong with this cat. But this cat is like the most lovable thing. It is hysterical. Its jaw didn't grow all the way in. That's why the tongue sticks out all the time. But what a sweet little cat. Anyway, so Lil Bub's Big Fun actually helps support organizations that care for pets like Lil Bub, who have special needs. Maybe they're older. Maybe they require medicine every day. Maybe they have mobility issues. Maybe they're deaf. Maybe they're blind. But these pets still deserve to find forever homes. So 100% of the monies raised for Lil Bub's Big Fund are actually granted out to different organizations around, I believe it's only the U.S. But it is good to know that 100% of the funds are granted out, and to date, about $500,000 has been raised by Lil Bub and Lil Bub's dude and dudette, and now there's like little kids in the house too. So that fund's been around for I think 6 years. Okay, Ghost says X-Men Days of Future Bub. Well, you got the Wolverine part, right? Wolverine's always calling everybody Bub. There you go. All right, so what's coming up on the show tomorrow and into next week? So on tomorrow's show, I am going to unbox and take a first look at Traveler Ascension Imperial Warrant. This is from Daring Play Games. If you are a fan of the Traveler role-playing game, what my friend Terry Coleman said they were trying to do was they were trying to capture the excitement, the role-playing game experience, creating a board game. So we're going to find out if Terry and the team over at Daring Play were able to do that. But this successfully kickstarted. It took them about 3 years to finally get this out, and Terry sent this along. No, it's not Wargame Friday, Robert. Nice try. Nice try. All right, so we've got that. That's on Friday's show. I got a bunch of stuff stacked up all over the place again. Monday's show, I'm going to take a first look and unbox Kanban, the Driver's Edition. This is number 9 in the Great Designers series from Stronghold Games. This is kind of like the deluxe edition. Here, I'll try to angle this so you're not getting a bunch of glare. But it's got like a bunch of like automotive meeples and stuff like that. So, geez, Robert, there's other shows out there that's all they talk about are war games. They're not live though, so you don't get to like hang out and chat with people while you watch. So that's Monday's show. Tuesday's show, I will review Helios Expanse from Greenbrier Games. Yes, this is finally available and on sale, so I will review that. Okay, so next Wednesday, it's War Game Wednesday. So, Robert, you listening? You ready? Here it comes. I'll be reviewing Mark H. Walker's Platoon Commander Deluxe, The Battle of Kursk. That's right. I will be reviewing this. I did the unboxing for it 2 Wednesdays ago, or a week ago, this past Wednesday, I guess we'll say, yesterday. So I will be doing my review for Flying Pig Games and my buddy Mark H. Walker. I will probably once again do a double dip and kind of share a first look at a Tiny Battle Publishing game as well. Maybe we'll do Korea 1950. Now, I remember if now I already took a look at that. What am I thinking? Hang on. Let's see. I've done Sticks and Stones. Oh, okay. We'll do Winter Thunder. Yes. The Bulge. It's too many, in my opinion, way too many Bulge games out there. Way too many Bulge games. But hey, that's just me. That is just my opinion. So that is on next Wednesday's show. And then on Thursday, I will be taking a first look at unboxing Forum Trajanum, which is also from my pals over at Stronghold Games. This is a game of ancient Rome. So kind of curious. It seemed to look kind of interesting. So I asked my pal Stephen Bonacore to send that along to me. Kabuki Kid says, in your opinion, what's the best Bulge game? One-page Bulge. Steve Jackson Games. That's going way back. Nobody remembers that one. That was before Steve Jackson was Steve Jackson. Trying to think. Ardennes 44 from GMT is pretty good. I don't know if I'd say it's the best. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna say Ardennes 44. In fact, I want to say that's coming back in print too from GMT. It was out of print for a while, and we should see a return of it. I think it's maybe it was it shipping? I might have been shipping the end of last month. May have been shipping the end of last month. All right, let me grab a sip here. Fast Action Bulge. It's Robert, I find the Fast Action series to be okay. If I'm doing a block game, I think I'll go with like the Masters of Block Games, Columbia, which my friend Mark H. Walker, I caught this on Twitter. He didn't tell me this personally, but you know what? I have a Kabuki Kid. I'm right with you. I have a fondness for block war games too. I thought Julius Caesar was really good. In fact, I reviewed that. Now that's review's probably about 6 years old now. That's over on thegaminggang.com. I also reviewed Stonewall. I thought that was really well done. I really, really did like Julius Caesar. One thing I do remember is I wish it had a mounted map, but it did not. It was a paper map. But yes, I like block games too. But according to Mark H. Walker, he thinks they're lazy design. I don't know if I agree with that. But that's Mark for you. Mark's opinionated. He's a good guy, funny guy too. So yes, Kabuki Kid is right on the money. I like how it simulates fog of war. I do too, to a certain extent, because if you're like super attentive while you're playing, you can usually kind of realize where the blocks are moving around once you've revealed what you're fighting. So, Fog of War, have I ever covered that one? No. Gotta be honest, asking about Stronghold Games, it is only this past year that, in fact, it was from, I think it was Origins. I think it was when I saw Steven at Origins and interviewed him at Origins, because I interviewed Steven at Origins and Gen Con. Steven said, hey, as much as people think, wow, Stronghold Games is just this massive company, a lot of people don't realize, and I'm not saying Stronghold Games is in this category, but a lot of people don't realize that there are bigger game companies out there that are actually in trouble. Like I said, Stronghold's not one of them as far as I understand. But a lot of these people think, wow, they got this company has all these games, so they must be doing fabulous. They're making money hand over fist. Take a look at Mayfair Games, right? Well, Mayfair went gone. One minute they were sponsoring the 50th Gen Con as one of the big sponsors, and then gone. So I think Rio Grande is going to be the next one that we see kind of hitting the skids. So Steven had told me, he said, hey, Jeff, finally, we're financially to the point where you just ask what ask away, whatever you want, we'll send your way. So, cause I'm not Tom Vassell. I don't have, hundreds of thousands of people following me and watching videos and stuff like that. I don't make, I don't pull in $250,000 at a Kickstarter campaign or $300,000 and stuff like that. So I understand. I mean, I've said it before on the show. I don't get upset at companies that don't send everything my way to review. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. It's companies that want me to share their news pieces and promote their stuff who refuse to send a single review copy ever. Steve Jackson Games, prime example. Those are the folks that I'm like, no way, no thanks. So, all right, Bolts 44 is too big and time consuming. Fog of War is an underrated game. Fun two-player game. I'll have to look into that. I got to be honest, I'm not familiar with it. I'm really not familiar with it. So, but, that's how it goes. Yeah, I can't be... People ask me all the time, hey, what do you think of XYZ game? And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. I might, know sell sheet info, but a lot of times it's like, I know nothing. So, all right, so let's move on into the second portion. This will be a little quicker of the show. I'm going to take a look at Comme Il Faut, which is French for what is right, what is proper, what is correct. It's for once again, Castle Falkenstein from our Talsorian Games. It's written by Thomas E. Olam. Isn't that the character, right? And Michael A. Podsmith. Yes, I guess Tom got an actual credit on this, with artwork provided by Charles Dana Gibson. This 128-page sourcebook is available in softcover for $14. It's available in PDF right now. Once again, we've got that sale going on over at DriveThru RPG. It's $6 in PDF. It's normally $10. So, do I have a favorite Euro game? I can't... What's my current favorite that's Euro-y? So, let's pop back over here real quick and I'll answer that question. I really like Everdell. I think Everdell is really, really well done. You know what? I knew nothing about Starling Games. And after going to Gen Con and doing an interview with Brennan Noonan and getting... let's see, we've got from Starling, we've got Everdell, we've got Archmage, and Black Orchestra, which is where you're trying to assassinate Hitler. They're awesome games. I think out of the three, I liked Archmage the least, but it was still really, really good. So I guess right now, my favorite game that's kind of Euro game-ish, it would be, I think I would say it's Everdell. It was my game of the year last year. It was my favorite game. So anyway, all right. So let's zip on back. There we go. Taking a peek. I'm gonna put the old reading specs on. I should throw a bone over to Black Orchestra is actually really good. It's not easy, which it shouldn't be, but it's a very good cooperative game. I really do like it. Orleans, there we go. I do want to say I should send a shout out to Tiny Epic Games, because outside of Dark War, I think all of their releases are excellent. And Dark War was okay. It was just a game that I felt more like it was playing me than I was playing it. All right, so we have All Things Right and Proper, a Castle Falkenstein companion. I believe this is just, more like setting info and stuff like that. Style of a Lost Age, modes and manners from A to Z. Rules of engagement. So common rules Q&As. Okay, so a bit of a FAQ. Themes to your games, and some maps circa the 1870s. All right, Style of Lost Age. What is Comme Il Faut? The utterly comme lady. Completely proper. And the gent. Oh, yes, well. Gonna wear my top hat at all times. I even sleep in my top hat. Keep all my mail in my top hat. Robert says, I like when Euro game mechanics blend with Ameritrash mechanics. Eurotrash. See, I don't refer to games as Ameritrash. To me, that's insulting. If I were a designer of a game that is an American style and people were calling it Ameritrash, that would piss me off. And you can blame Fortress Ameritrash for coining that term. Just like filler games. I don't use the term filler for games. For short games, yes, I understand. It's to fill time. But calling it a filler game, once again, that's kind of a derogatory term. Plus, I look at it like, and I say it all the time, filler is the crap they put in ground beef to fill it out. So I refer to games as American style or European style or Euro style. So I don't call them Euro games. But that's just me. I mean, that's always been the way I've approached it since the beginning of the gaming gang. So, all right. So, proper behavior. Yes, I would not fit in, I'm sure. Dressing up. If you don't live in 1875. Okay, so this is a little bit of LARP info here. There's a good old frock coats. An excellent book I used to refer to all the time was trying to remember. I want to say the title of it was what Dickens wrote and what Austin something and Dickens war or something like that. It was actually very cool. It was just kind of like everyday different stuff for that period, that time period in England. And it even had like the rules for whist and stuff like that. Good old Fortress America. That's an oldie. All right, typical day in the Steam Age. Modes, manners, and morals. A to Z. Assignations. Balls, parties, and dances. Top hits of 1870. There we go. Morning Papers. Oh, I love that song. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Country House Weekends. Dueling. Okay. Education. Edumacation, as I like to say. Fairy etiquette. Good works. So charity work there. The Help. Upstairs, downstairs. There you go. Little Downton Abbey action going on. In fashion, gossip, and news. Yes. Funny thing is, I think, as weird as this may sound, I think the period of the late 19th century into the early 20th century was probably, gossip was probably one of the biggest things that people involved themselves with to help pass the time and entertain themselves. Okay, so here's gossip, news, gossip, and topics from 1869 to 1880. Keeping up appearances, love and romance, money. So here, yeah, we've got Tom's notes, novels, officers and gentlemen, paying a call, yes, making sure to leave your card. Terms don't bother me either. Ameritrash is a term of endearment to me. This is Robert Moffat. Oh, that's okay. I don't get ticked off if somebody uses the term Ameritrash. It's just something I don't do. That's it. That's it. I'm banning you, Robert. You're out of here. How do I get you out of the chat? I'm teasing. All right. So the season, yes. Anybody who's watched any, Jane Austen movies, or I should say, movies based on Jane Austen books and that, will find some of this stuff familiar. Typical steamers. Oh, aeroship passenger deck. Ship routes and schedule info. Traveling to by rail. That was not comfortable back then. Train schedules and maps. Lone Sealy. Boo, hiss, boo. I believe they're baddies. Victorian values. Your word is your bond. Honesty is the best policy. The truth will out. Good works are their own reward. You are your brother's keeper. Always protect those weaker than yourself. Knowledge is valuable for its own sake. Believe in a higher good. Yes, bust out that white man's burden. Yup. That's a Victorian value I don't see in there. Writing journals. Xenophobia. Yeah, that was big. Something with you. And Zeitgeist. Okay, so rules of the game. So we're going to get into common rule questions and answers. Wow, it's funny. It's really really being presented as if that fictional character is involved with writing this book. Did Mike Pondsmith have a break of some sort? Psychotic break? I'm teasing. It's not unusual to see game information presented kind of in like almost like the first person. So we got new skills and abilities. So we got athletics. Oh no. So here we go. Craftsmanship, gambling. Yeah, baby. Invention, leadership, mesmerism. Motoring, natural sciences, writing. Okay, 3 new roles and professions. Okay. Turn of a friendly card. Why do we, other than the social aspect, use cards in the great game rather than dice? Because cards, my friend, are more useful than dice. Dice are linear. They do one thing, produce random numbers. At best, by using combinations of dice, you can produce numbers in new and clever ways. But in the end, you still end up with numbers. Cards, on the other hand, are what I call holographic. Yeah, holographic. They not only can produce numbers, the equivalent of a 14-sided die, where an ace can be either 1 or a 13, and jokers are wild, but also have projected values based on suits, combinations of cards, and even pictures on the cards. With these added dimensions, cards can do a lot more than any die, no matter how finely crafted. Cool. Interesting. Oh, so there's a variation if you wanted to use a tarot deck. I gotta be honest. Okay, so I spend usually about an hour or two at night just like reading old school OSR adventures and stuff like that. Just looking to, steal things. Everybody who's a GM cribs stuff from everything. Tonight I think I'll actually be sitting down and busting out Castle Falkenstein to check this out in much more detail. Because usually once I do like a page through and stuff like that, I usually set it aside for about a week, and then I dive in and I start reading it, and then so I can do a review. Uh, looks like looks like Robert Moffat picked the wrong week to stop drinking coffee. Yep, looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. Yeah, that's a classic. Shirley, you must be joking. I'm not joking, and don't call me Shirley. Okay, fearful harm and great danger. Oh, wow, okay. So I believe, okay, so I understand, I think, like, your abilities, right? The abilities that we were looking at. So we see that we just had some new abilities added to the game, like gambling. I think you're rated. You get a rating. So we've got poor, average, good, great, exceptional, extraordinary, and astounding. And this is kind of giving us... So this is the ability rank. Okay, so here we go. So this is up here. So we get to extraordinary. Astounding is not an ability rank. So you rank the ability, and then the feat difficulty is ranked the same way, except you've got astounding. So, all right. Yes, good old airplane. I saw that. I wasn't even in high school yet. I think that came out the summer between 8th grade and freshman year, and I remember I saw it twice. So yeah, Kabuki Kid. I did the same exact thing. I went with my cousin to the movies, which I think it was the only movie I ever went with this cousin to, and we watched it and we laughed so hard we stayed to watch it again because we knew we had missed so many things that were going on. Okay, so this looks like some of this stuff is probably just kind of adding a little more crunch to the system, maybe? There we go. Okay, so we've got an alternate number crunchers variation. I hate min-maxers. Oh, man, I am right with that. When I run across... Okay, so luckily I have not run a bunch of games that called for min-maxing. But if I ran across that kind of stuff, I'd be like, oh yeah, I am gonna make sure that I'm going to play to your minimums. So, what is this? Ghost says, "Oh, Striker? Do you mean Striker?" I think Ghost World may have mistyped that. Sorceress queries and answers. Okay. New spells, cantrips, and wards. Okay. Once again, this is another book that seems to have a lot of information packed into it. Practical sorcerers, harmonic convergence, common sense, non-rules, Falkenstein. I would think this would be more like LARPing. Kind of aimed at LARPing, is my guess. Yep. Okay, so that took up quite a bit. Tables turn. Wow. Okay, so here we go. This is actually LARPing here. I've never done that. I have really no interest in live action role play. So even back in the day before LARPing was really a thing, I was not into the whole host a murder party either. So I asked Alexis, surely it's not going to rain today. She said it is and told me to stop calling her Shirley. I forgot my phone was in airplane mode. That's funny. That's pretty cool. Shirley, you must be joking. Okay, so one of the funniest parts, one of the funniest bits, and I'm not going to like exactly get into it, but if you remember Airplane, you remember the loading zone, the announcements for the loading zone, and no loading or unloading in the red zone or whatever, and how they start bickering back and forth. It's like, yeah, that I gotta watch that. I haven't seen that in years. That was the movie that actually made Leslie Nielsen a comedic actor, because he had always been in like serious roles before that. He was in Poseidon Adventure as the captain of the ship. He was the captain in Forbidden Planet. That's a classic movie. Right, so the Falkenstein campaign setting, military themes. So this is talking about what kind of theme you want to have for your campaign, how you might be able to achieve that, right? So mystery themes, science fiction themes, romantic themes, secret agent themes, horror themes. How about mixing them all together? Fairy tale themes. Okay, then we've got a Falkenstein. Maybe it is Falkenstein. Wouldn't it be Falkensteinian, and as opposed to Falkensteinian? I don't know. A Who's Who timeline. So it's talking about all these fictional and historical characters there. Okay, so now we get some maps. That's a pretty cool map. So that's München, Vienna, Paris, Berlin, and finally London. There we go. All right, cool. So this is Comme Il Faut, which is for Castle Falkenstein. As I mentioned before, this is available in print as a softcover for $14, and it is normally $10 on Drive-Thru RPG. You can get it right now for the next few days for a sale price during the GM sale for $6. So actually, with the GM sale, you could pick up Castle Falkenstein or Stein. I'm still saying Steen because I think it's Sting. And the Comme Il Faut supplement for a grand total of $18. That is that's a pretty good deal. Yes, Police Squad. Yes, I remember the Police Squad show. That sucked that they that show wasn't on that long. It was only a few episodes, and of course, I was a kid, and I thought, well, this is really funny. This is really funny stuff. Maybe I was a freshman in high school. Yep, Forbidden Planet. That is an excellent, excellent movie. All it is really Shakespeare's The Tempest in space. But still, it's an excellent movie. And I don't know if you know this. I'll leave you all in chat today with a little bit of trivia. In case you didn't know, the special effects for Forbidden Planet were actually done by the Walt Disney Company. It was not a Walt Disney movie, but they did the special effects for the monster and everything. And, their little, like, pea shooter guns where it's like, pee, 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 pee. So, all right. That is it for today's show. As I mentioned on tomorrow's show, where did I put it? Where's it floating around? There it is. On tomorrow's show, I will be unboxing and taking a first look at Traveler Ascension Imperial Warrant from Daring Play Games. Oh, hey, I meant to ask. I'm sure longtime viewers have probably noticed that I pulled the camera back out a little bit. Frau Blucher, there we go. There's the horse Winnie. Yeah, we're doing a little Young Frankenstein. We're back. We've gone full circle. We're back to Young Frankenstein. Anyway, I was going to say, kind of pulled the camera out, kind of showing you a little more of the Duct Tape Studios. So you'll notice this is where some of the lighting is, and I actually have to kind of block it off so that it doesn't create too much glare. But I messed around with the lighting in that, so that when we do the overhead shots, not that much glare. So, all right. Anyway, that's it for today's show. I always like to point out when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please go visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. There are over 10,000 articles at thegaminggang.com. Some aren't real long. A lot of them are just news pieces, but yeah, there are over 10,000 posts over at thegaminggang.com. So, as I mentioned, I will be back tomorrow because it's Friday. We'll get ready for the weekend. And as always, thank you very much for watching. And those of you in chat, thank you once again for hanging out and chewing the fat. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.